and welcome to Real World Conversations, where we talk to people about what they do and their careers. And today I am here with Zach Kinzler. We met through actually the company he works for now called Boodlebox, which is a super cool product. But Zach, before we get into the questions, why don't you just give us the 30-second version of you and what you do?
Zach Kinzler, I'm the Senior Solutions Engineer here at Boodlebox. Thank you so much for having me on today. A little 30-second about myself. I have an Industrial and Systems Engineering degree and a Master's in Business Analytics from University of San Diego. When I was in grad school, I worked as a machine learning engineer for about 6 months. Quickly realized I like humans a lot more than dark rooms and computers, and that's how it landed me here in my role. So I get to work with the tech side and the people side of things here at Boodlebox. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm excited to tell you more about it.
Well, Zach, first of all, again, thank you for being here. I will say that you are very good at your job. And I know this because I have worked with many solutions engineers in my time, and it is a specialized skill set. And so actually, before we jump into some of our prepared questions, let me just throw you into the deep end. What do you think are some of the critical skills of being an effective solutions engineer? Like what do you say you have to be good at every single day?
I would say people. 100% is that, like, understanding people on both sides of things, right? So a lot of people would say you need to be able to talk to the customer, but I think it's also equally or more as valuable to be able to talk to, say, the tech team at Boodlebox. And I have very lucky group of people at the tech team here that they understand people a lot better than most tech people would, I would say. But I would just say, like, understanding humans, right? Like understanding what people want to, what they need, what they're trying to say, where they're confused and things like that. So people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And translation, right, is a big part of that, because when you're speaking to clients, you may have tech savvy clients, less tech savvy clients, highly confused clients, which I am sure happens all the time as you work in also this field of AI. So how do you sort of navigate that translation process? So you like people, you're a people person. How do you actually work within this sort of nexus of customers and tech team and your own company? How do you help translate?
Well, the one thing that I would say is really important about the translation side of things, especially in AI, because AI is a unique space. I like to say that, people would disagree with me here, but AI started 3 years ago, right? Like everyone kind of jumped in at the same time where everyone understands it. So first, you have to have like a good understanding of the space. Like I joke, it's literally my job to stay up to date with AI, and I totally struggle with it because things change so fast every single day. But just to be able to kind of have that confidence that you don't know things, but you're able to learn them, right? So that's the big first thing. And then second is that, like, meeting people kind of where they are, because like that understanding of translation is very important, because you have to understand what language someone's speaking, is kind of what I like to say. So if I jump on a phone call with someone that has no idea about AI, it's very, very, very important for me to understand that right away, so that I can kind of start talking to where they're looking to understand, throw a few buzzwords out, kind of feel if people can understand what you're saying, and then diving into those technical specificities. And I think the thing that's very, very important for a solutions engineer is that, like, I struggled with this at the beginning, is that, like, people don't understand technology, and no matter how good you are as explaining technical terms, no one cares if they don't understand what you're saying.
Yes, that's true.
It's being able to break down something that's very complex and explain it in terms of a car, or in terms of a soccer game, or in terms of something like that. So kind of being able to recognize what people care about is pretty essential. Because if I explain some things that you don't care about AI, right, and you just want to know how it affects your job, you can distract, right, and confuse when there's no need for confusion. So kind of understanding the language the other person is speaking, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. It is that translation process. And I would imagine that, okay, so actually I'm gonna ask this question a very different way. I have been in the room with solutions engineers and sales folks at the same time, right? So usually they pair up. You're having like a product exploratory conversation. My least favorite thing in the whole wide world is when someone schedules a meeting and spends the whole time sort of like asking you questions about your use case and trying to get you to articulate what advantage their product would have for you. Like, you know, like all the sales 101 stuff, when you just want to have a conversation, learn about the product. So how do you work within this like sales structure and a customer structure to make sure like the methodology that folks use in sales or even in solutions engineering doesn't seem like forced, or like if a client doesn't want to go through that discovery process, how do you make sure that sales isn't heading in one way and you're heading in another?
So, I mean, I'm in a very lucky position here at Boodlebox because I don't necessarily, I work with a salesman most of the time, right? But my sales team aren't really traditional salespeople, like Jess Autry, who senior vice president.
Probably why they're so lovely.
Yeah, exactly. I work with them, and she was a provost for 10 years. So the thing that's so cool about that is that like I come from this technical student kind of young person in the AI perspective, and they come from a very educational background. So really when we jump on sales calls, it's not really too salesy. And that's kind of why I would say it started to work so well. And especially from my point of view, like I'm never selling someone something. I'm just explaining how this can kind of solve a problem that you often have. And Boodlebox is a great product to sell, right? Because there's lots of problems it solves. But inherently, what we do a good job of, like, if this isn't a fit for you, then it's not a fit for us. Like, we really think of this as a partnership, and that's a fun place to be from in my position, right? So it's kind of like, how can I help you uncover this crazy thing that you have no idea what it does or how it works to help you solve your problems? And the thing that is also fun and difficult at the same time is that, like, everyone needs AI and everyone wants to AI their whole life and do all these crazy things, but people really struggle with that. And I love my job because it's like you can help people understand how they need to solve problems at their work through helping them set up a grocery list or planning their drop-off schedules for their children. So it's like, it's fun for me because I never think of what I do as sell, and that's very cliche, and I'm sure every solutions engineer would say the exact same thing if you asked them this question. But I do truly believe that, like, I'm never convincing someone of something. I'm rather just helping them find something that actually solves their problems, because AI is a space where everyone's looking for a solution that they don't know what problem they have. And that's kind of the thing that I enjoy helping people with. And, you know, we'll get into this at times, but Boodlebox is completely secure. And I think I'm very passionate about the AI world, and big companies do a horrible job of giving any sort of transparency. So I deal with a lot of very kind of scared people, I would say, and it's fun to kind of help them with something that they're very confused and just don't really know what's going on. And to your point, often get sold things and end up in a bad position. And I really pride myself on, like, not doing that is what I would say.
Yeah, because then that's just customer churn anyways, right? Like, they're not going to be happy. It's not going to advance your brand. It's not going to be something that works on either part.
Yep.
So one other question. So you're talking to people, like when we were talking or other folks are talking, and they're ask persistent questions about things, but they're not technical. How do you find the themes to take back to your product team and your tech team to say, this is what our customers actually want, right? So you're always in a company constantly trying to find that fit, building what the customer actually wants and they're going to pay for. So how do you sort of provide that feedback back to the product team in a way that aligns with reality of what the product could actually develop into?
So, I mean, Boodlebox's processes of doing this are very unique, I would say. Like, the chief product officer at Boodlebox is meeting with 7 to 10 faculty members a week, which I guarantee you most other companies.
No, they are not in most other places.
And like, my job is, you know, I have to do some translation, right? I mean, people put their own problems in their own situations, right? So kind of being able to generalize those problems is a skill that I think is very valuable. Like, if two people have different problems, kind of finding the similarities where the actual problem lies. But what I do is I just write everything down all of the time. And then I kind of will use Boodlebox or AI to kind of synthesize, like, what's the common themes that people aren't understanding. And a lot of the things that we deal with at Boodlebox is a lot of, like, perception rather than actual functionality issues. So people just don't necessarily know how to get to that point. So it's actually something we're really working through, and it's a lot of fun, really. Like, a lot of it is just talking to people and understanding their problems and then talking to product and coming back and forth. But the number one skill I would say for solutions engineers that are really important for that are don't like try to present an answer necessarily. Kind of present, hey, here's the general problems. Here's what I think the answer is, but here's the general problems as a whole as well. Because if you are making translations incorrectly, that can snowball dramatically both ends that you're getting things wrong.
Yes.
It's more about having constant streams of communications. Like we have a meeting at the beginning and the end of every week of like, what did we hear? How are people perceiving changes? How are actual changes functionality wise, kind of things like that. So it's really just, and it's listening, not telling, I think is a big thing too. Like half of the Boodlebox platform was thought of by teachers. And I think that is something that our product team does an incredible job of, is not taking offense when someone says they don't like it. Like the number one thing I say on Zoom calls all the time is, I don't care what you like about it. I would really like to hear what you don't like about it so we can make it better. And that's, I think a lot of people say that, but actually like staying true to that and like listening to people is very important.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think the concept of like just iterative improvement and not taking stuff personally, you would be surprised by how many folks take like a change or a comment about their platform really personally, when in fact it's like a gift. It's a gift for how to change something and make it better, right?
Yes.
Not all feedback is good, is productive feedback though. Sometimes feedback is super outlier, right? Yes. So why don't you just wrap us up for this segment with if you were telling someone the three critical skills, and I think I know what you're going to say for maybe one or two of these, 3 critical skills for someone to be a successful solutions engineer, what would you say?
I would say be very literate in what you're doing, like have an understanding of your job as a whole, your product. Very, very, very important is to know the ins and out of your product, and then as well of like the space, right? So who are the teachers? What are the problems they have? What is happening in the news? Like read what they're reading is what I think is very important. And LinkedIn is a great place to do that. Second, like be personable, right? Like don't jump on a call and just talk about what you want to talk about. Like be able to understand the person you're talking to. And that goes both ways. Like I said, like understand your product team, because there's certain things that, people don't get offended, but you have to say them in ways that are productive rather than just constantly beating your product team down. I've learned that a lot here. You've got to show the positives too. Like you have to show your product team what is working, like what people are enjoying, because a lot of your product team most of the time just gets complaints, and it's an important morale company thing to be able to give people the positives as well. And then finally, like be able to solve problems is very, very important. So like when someone has a situation, and we'll get into this when talk about like my favorite part of my job, but it's that just being able to understand like how to solve people's problems with your product. So using it to solve your own problems and just being able to kind of think on the fly and be able to just talk confidently about things and answer questions. And saying, I don't know, is a good answer. I think a lot of people lie to salespeople all the time. Like if a person's like, when's this going to happen? The one thing that we've done a very good job is being very transparent. Like this feature isn't a thing yet, but it might be within the next 6 to 9 months. And I think a lot of customer relationships are broken by solutions engineers, like not having an understanding of the roadmap or the sales process. And obviously having a good relationship with your like sales team is very valuable as well.
Right. Yes. I would say reality-based, absolutely the way to go. Absolutely the way to go. Well, thank you for talking with us today. Fascinating conversation. I learned a lot the way I always do when we talk. So thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.